announce it that we are also starting. And then we can actually... Okay. Should I link you the my Twitch link?
I'm on it.
Oh, you're on it, you said?
Yeah, I've clicked on it.
Okay. You,
Yeah.
you opened it up. Okay, thank you. Oh, Jadino,
Cool.
thank you for the sub. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's all good.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I didn't know it's you. Sorry, I wasn't familiar. It's you. Sorry, my bad. Okay,
That's okay.
ladies and gentlemen, let us know if we can start. I know it's early. It's not the usual time, but let us know. Let us know. And like always, at the end of the stream, you can also ask questions. So we'll a bit tune my mic here. Everything is fine, Minnie is saying. Okay, Fred, let me know. Let me know if you're down to start.
I'm down, let's go.
Okay, welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Life show. I'm here today joined with Fred, who we met with at Gamescom, and I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. He's one of the creators of the game called Bornless. It's soon to be released. We are not sure when, but it's soon to be, so we'll hopefully let some things know about by Fred about the game. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Okay, I'm Fred Drabble. I'm a character artist and artist. We're quite a small team, so we wear quite a lot of hats. For Cathedral Studios, we're working on the Bornless. I've been with them for, I think, 2 years today, actually, or maybe 2 years tomorrow.
Okay.
So 2 years, bang on. So I've kind of been there since the game was kind of very small, and now it's what it is now. We showed up at Gamescom. So yeah, that's me. I've been there for 2 years. I'm from England, obviously, as you can tell from my accent. Grew up in London. So yeah.
Nice.
I
Thank
don't
you
know,
for
have you got any
that.
more questions?
Thank
You
you
want to
for
know
that. Yeah,
about me?
sure I am.
That's good.
Thank you. Okay, so my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past?
I think, I mean, obviously, I think as a kid, like, you go to like people's parties and stuff and play Wii and stuff.
Okay.
But my main one for me was when I got my first DS. That was like my own console that was mine.
Nice.
And I remember I used to play like the Lego games all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like real Lego and Lego games pretty much. This is like my life
Nice.
when I was a kid. But yeah, my DS was the first one. Loved it.
I see. And back then, did you know or did you have this feeling or mindset of yours that you want to not just play games with the love and the passion of games, but also create games?
I never even thought it was a thing, to be honest.
Okay.
I think when you're a kid, you don't really think anyone makes them. You just sort of think, oh, I've got a new game. The new Pokemon's out.
True.
So I had no kind of conception that it was a career or something I could even do until I was about maybe 16.
Okay.
And someone in the year above me when I was in school introduced me to ZBrush.
I see.
And we just started sculpting, and basically he taught me all the stuff he knew. He was still super early. He'd only been doing it for a couple of months. And basically that was like my first, it kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, I can actually make video games. Like I didn't ever consider that before, weirdly.
I see. How do you feel about it will be a more personal question, and I hope you don't mind it or won't mind it. How do you feel about were your family and close friends supportive about this decision that you now started to have this passion for creating video games and you consider it as a day job as well?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky. My family's very supportive.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the stats, like it's the biggest media form. I think it's bigger than both film and music together.
True.
And if I said I want to be like a filmmaker or something, that's seen as a normal career. So I think games is just a bit newer. So it's kind of it's seen as a kind of a weird career. But in terms of being an industry, it's bigger than the other two combined.
True.
So when you look at those stats, it's kind of hard to say that's not a real career. It's like, well, it is. so yeah, they were lovely and supportive anyway. My dad's an artist, so he was like getting on board with it. He's a photographer. Yeah, and they just kind of realized my passion for it. Like I became obsessed with it when I first started sculpting. Like it's just all I would do. Like it was just became my biggest passion straight away from the minute I started it. Really.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Do you think, by the way, it's important to have a supportive background, even if it's a financial support or even if it's a mental support?
I think it is, but there's nothing you can do about it if
Okay.
you don't have that support. And I think
Okay.
that you shouldn't let that stop you. Not everyone's as lucky as I was to have parents who were like, yeah,
True.
that's great.
True.
Some people's parents want them to be a doctor or they want them to
True.
do a
True.
certain
True.
thing.
True. True.
There's nothing you can do about that. So I think, yeah, don't let it stop you basically from doing what you want to do.
True.
They'll come around anyway. Once if you get really great at your craft and it becomes your career, they can't tell you it's not when it is. So they'll support you eventually.
True. True. As for art, when you developed out your own style, was it when you started working on the game or was it way before?
Well, the style I'm working in, it's always, I mean, it's a very hard goal, but it's always been like realism has always been my goal.
I see.
I think I've done like 2 stylized pieces in my life.
I see.
I've been doing 3D art for like 8 years now or something. Um, so it's always been aiming towards realism. So it's not so much a style, more just like constantly trying to improve and
I
like
see.
up
I
my
see. I
texturing
see.
game and
I
stuff.
see.
But my style's definitely evolved since I've been working at Cathedral, just because I've been doing it for 2 years, like non-stop. So I've just gotten better. So I think like looking at my stuff now compared to my old stuff, it's definitely better, which means I have to go and really like rework old stuff sometimes. Yeah.
I see. So throughout those years that you worked on the Borderless as a game developer yourself, how have you changed as a person in other territories of your own life?
I think I've changed a lot.
Okay.
I think working for especially a small team that's grown quite
Okay.
considerably, I've had to like up my leadership skills quite a lot.
Okay.
A lot of people say that I seem a lot older than I am now. I don't think that was the case when I started, but I think it's kind of forced me to age because I've just taken on responsibility and I've wanted to take on responsibility
I see.
because it's a project that I'm very passionate about.
I see.
So yeah, I think I've changed quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, I've also aged quite. I mean, it's 2 years of aging, so it's hard to know what's Cathedral Studios and what's just me aging. But I've definitely changed, I think.
I see. I see. And how do you feel about like when you started this first step of yours, stepping into the world of the video games? What kind of feelings did you have? Was it scary? Was it like a hard decision to
Oh, I was
make?
so excited.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I remember when I first um I've been in chats with Toby before, but basically he was like, we have no investment like at the moment.
Okay.
So we can't get you on, but we want to get you on at some point. So they contacted me, he interviewed me, I was like, yeah, well, we actually can't hire you for like 6 months. So reach back out if you're still interested then. So 6 months went by, and I was finishing up with uni at the time, and I was
I see.
like, and I went there to do video game art. And then I messaged him again, and I was like, look, just submitted my uni work. Like, do you still want me? And he was like, yep, let's start tomorrow. So like the day I submitted all my uni work, I started with them on an art test. And I made this character called Oribus,
Okay.
who was in the Gamescom build. So that was my art test I did. I had a week-long art test, and then they basically kept me on a rolling contract. But at the time, the studio was still very small. I think I'm within the 10 oldest, not oldest in terms of age, but like the 10 original employees of the studio. But now there's like 30 of us, maybe, or 25 of us.
I see.
So it's quite it was a much smaller scale back then. So it was quite like it didn't feel quite as serious. It was like, yeah, we're getting you on for a week. Okay, we're going to get you on for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And then it was like, yeah, we want you. And now I'm like on a full-time contract and it's all properly sorted out. But yeah, back to your question. I went on a bit of a tangent. It was amazing. I was so excited. It was like my dream because I know that being a character artist especially, is quite a competitive industry to get into. I know a lot of people start as like a junior character artist where they can maybe do like, they can work on a few small elements of a character, like they can work on the shoes or like glasses or something like that. But to go work in a smaller studio where they want me to just do the characters, it was like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Like I can just make a whole character for this company. So yeah, I remember like after I got the art test, I like called everyone in my family. I was like, I got an art test for a video games company. Like they were like, oh my god, that's so cool. I called my granny and she was like, "Oh, that's amazing. What are you making?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm making a like a demon horse weird deer thing." And she's like, "Oh, okay." Like, yeah, making a massive demon. So yeah, yeah, it's really I was just so excited. Basically, it's
Lovely,
crazy.
lovely story. Nice, nice, nice. Speaking of that topic, I believe that by that decision that you really had this freedom of like making everything for your own as a creative person in art. So I believe that all of us creators who create our own craft, we always tend to put our inner self, memories of loss or love or everything that we experienced throughout our past into the craft we make. Is this statement of mine true for your life as a developer as well?
I definitely think so. I
Okay.
think your experiences as a human is what makes you able to create stuff, I think.
True, true, true.
um and I think if you've like never been through pain or you've never experienced stuff, it's going to be very hard for you to like dig deep and
True,
find
true,
stuff to
true, true,
create.
true, true, true.
The only difference I would say, and I think it still does bleed in, but like when you're doing commercial work, it's not just your own work. It's
I
like
see.
what does my art director, what does my creative director, my CEO, like what do they need for the project? So when I'm creating like a weird clown demon, it's sometimes less like my inner feelings as an artist and more like what needs to be
True, true,
created
true.
to make the game
Understandable.
work. So I think personal work you're able to like pour more stuff into. Um, but once it's like it's also the work of, I mean, they might not be directly involved, but three other people might have a say on it. It becomes less your personal work and more the studio's work. But I think that I think that in a way kind of adds more people's experiences into the project. So maybe it's less yours, but it's more other people. So it's still very like driven by people's experiences. Like maybe my CEO Toby has like been through a specific experience and he wants to convey that, and I'm mixing in my own experiences as well. So I think I think it definitely does bleed in.
I see. I see. Throughout the development process of the game, was there anything that from your work you had to cut out from the game and it's not there in the game? If you can, of course, speak about this.
So last Halloween, so we did a Halloween playtest just last
Okay.
week,
Okay.
and then the Halloween before was the last time that we had done an online playtest. We did Gamescom, but like a playtest on Steam.
I see.
And we had a whole game mode called the Botus mode. So there was this giant snake, and it was like an asymmetric mode where one person would be the snake, and
Okay.
the other people would be people trying to destroy the eggs for
I see.
the
I
snake.
see.
It was a sort of like a mini game mode. At the time, we were kind of planning on releasing multiple different modes to create the full game. So it was like almost like slightly more party game-ish, like you could jump in on different modes, a 2v2 mode. And that's kind of been moved away from now. We're deciding like, okay, we actually want to like make one core game mode
I
that's
see.
a lot more fleshed out and a lot more
So not
more in
separate
depth.
layers, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So that's like as a whole game mode is definitely archived now. Maybe
I
we'll bring
see.
it back one day, but for now, like that game mode itself doesn't exist. But elements of it exist in our
I see.
new game mode, the real game mode.
I see.
So yeah, I think we needed to make that to realize like what we actually needed to make.
I see. I see. So you mentioned before that when the small membership team started working on the borderless, it wasn't that serious at that time, right? They had the vision, but what was the click when the whole team realized that okay, now we are getting to the right spot of the development process of the
I
game and
think I
we are
think it
on
was
the
always
right track?
serious. I think if you're not serious about stuff,
Okay,
it's never gonna happen, right?
true,
So I
true,
think
true, true,
even if it wasn't like oh, this game is definitely going to make it all the way to completion. You have to act like it is every single
true,
day.
true, 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 true.
Um, but it was still a much smaller team. We were kind of finding our feet. All of us were quite new to it.
I
The
see,
company itself had only been around for a couple, like maybe 6 months or something.
I see.
So, but I think what's made us be able to keep going with it is like we've always acted like, even if we've had fear that it's not going to happen, we've always acted like we are going to be able to make this game to completion. We're going to be able to land the investment to do that and stuff. Um, and then we closed like our funding round probably about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago. And I think that was the moment we were like, okay, like we actually can do this now. We have like enough money to get in the bank to get this game to completion. It's going to be tight and it's still going to be like a very, very tough job, but we can do it. And I think that's like the moment we were like, okay, let's go. Yeah, I think you've always got to act like with confidence and act like you will do the thing enabled
True,
for it to
true,
happen.
true.
Because if you're doubtful, you're not going to be able to put your all into it because you don't want to put your all in something
True,
that you
very
think is
true.
going to fail. So you have to just tell yourself, we're going to make it.
Very true, very true. Very true. Throughout the development process of those years that you worked on the
That's
games
fine.
so far, no, it's okay, it's okay. What was your favorite part of the process of making the Bornless?
It's hard to say. I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of it, to be honest, for like the whole thing. Like getting to work on weird characters and also work with so many talented people. I think it's always a joy, really.
I see.
Yeah, I think I've loved like all of it. I think the first, like the first art test, like the first thing I did was probably the highlight, just because it was like like I don't know, it was just like amazing to finally get to just do something with a team, and make yeah a proper character for a game. That's pretty crazy.
I see. I see. And so,
Also, Gamescom, of course, like
oh, okay.
that's
Sorry,
pretty
sorry.
wild.
Nah.
Gamescom was insane. Like going there to where I think it was like I can't remember how many people were there, 500,000 people or something like that in
Yeah, a
Gamescom.
lot, a lot. Yeah.
And just like knowing that they were walking past our booth and seeing our game and coming in and queuing up for 4 hours
Yeah.
to play the game,
Yeah.
like that was pretty insane.
Yeah.
Definitely insane.
Nice.
Doesn't feel real.
What about the hardest part? We talked about like your favorite parts of the development process. What was the hardest part or parts, if there are more?
I think there's a lot of hard parts to
Okay.
anything really. I think for there to be like such big ups like Gamescom, there have to also be like times where you're just in the trenches grinding. Like we've definitely done some like had some very very big ambitions for a very short amount of time.
I see.
And I think what's hard is kind of like understanding that sometimes you have to like slightly sacrifice some areas in order to meet those deadlines.
I see.
So maybe like I wasn't able to put as much polish into something as I wanted to, but you have to like stand back and look at the bigger picture and realize if you aren't if we aren't able to like do what we did at Gamescom, then it's a lot harder for us to get players and stuff like that. Like we had to have a game which was playable for Gamescom, but had we focused on every single area and made like really really polished stuff, we might have had like a tenth of the map to actually play in. So I think we had to realize like work in broader strokes, and we can paint those details in later. But I think that's always hard as a creative to like slightly distance yourself from what you're working on and go, okay, this might not be my very best work,
Sure.
but in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be my best work because it's going to be paired with everyone else's work, and it's going to go to Gamescom. So yeah, I think it's hard, but if you step back, it's worth it.
True. 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 So far, what was your favorite character or monster to design, or favorite characters, monsters?
Done a lot of characters now. I think my favorite one isn't. He's not in the game yet.
Okay.
But he is known about. He's this lighthouseman, and basically on the island when all the stuff started kicking off,
Okay.
demons started climbing up from hell, angels started descending from the heavens. Basically, everything fell apart. This lighthouse man called Robert Butler couldn't handle his life anymore, jumped off the top of the lighthouse and died. He was washed up on the beach and found by a worshipper of a demon called Phoenix, and he'd lost his head. But she instantly fell in love with him, and she carved a new head for him out of wood and imbued life back into it. And now we've got this lighthouseman in this full lighthouse outfit that's like tattered and destroyed from smashing into the rocks. He's got this big wooden head, and it's just like really haunting idea that he's like didn't want to live anymore, and he's now forced to live forever, like following this woman who's carved a new head for him. Like I think it's quite haunting, and I'm really happy with how the character turned out. He is, if anyone does join the Bornless Discord, like the public one, he's been put somewhere in like the teasers or something like that with like the sneak peeks, so you can go in there and look at him. But yeah, I think he's my favorite. I'm really happy with how he turned out.
Nice. So you talked about a bit of the lore and story behind its character. How we as players will be able to learn more about these characters and monsters throughout our journey with the Bornless, with the
Okay,
gameplay
so
itself.
at its current state, the Bornless is not a story game.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of games like that, like Overwatch and Apex Legends, and like there are lot of games that are like multiplayer online games. They aren't story games, but you can extrapolate so much story from them while
True, true,
playing.
true, true.
So I've like tried to weave in as much of the story into the characters as I can, like
I see.
how his collar is all ripped and like he has like gloves on to hide his like bloated hands where he floats in the water for
So it's
weeks
like
and stuff.
more of
Like
an environmental storytelling, you say?
exactly,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
we're on like environmental storytelling. But there will be around the map. We're not quite sure how we're gonna implement this yet, but we're gonna have like these things called lore tomes.
Okay.
So you might be able to find snippets of lore and read them, and basically
I
like
see, I
it might
see,
be
I
like a
see.
washed up note or a message in a bottle that you read and it's like, oh, I've been stuck at sea for 10 days. I can't return to the island. It's full of demons. Whatever we decide to put in there. So we're going to try and weave in as much story as we can into the world. But I think we've got to get the game to a point where it's like ready for the world before we can start introducing that lore. So that might be something that we kind of start to feed in over time rather than like all in one go.
I see.
Yeah.
So when you joined the small team of creators who also make the game with you, what was the main vision of this game, and what was the influence behind this game, if you know something about it?
So there's an old book called The Lesser Key of Solomon.
Okay.
I think it's by Alistair Crowley, or
Okay.
maybe translated by him from Latin.
Okay.
I don't know quite know exactly the backstory there.
Okay.
And it's almost like a dictionary of demons. I think there's like
Okay.
72 demons in there or something like that.
That's
It's like the demons of hell. So we've got a lot of subject matter, and basically all the demons we have are from that book. So
I see.
Oribus, he's this twisted horse forest creature that like walks like bipedal creature. So we read the description together, and then we're like, me and Toby I work quite heavily with Toby. I think he's like, he's not just a CEO. I think he's like a creative director and everything. Like he's a very talented guy. So me and him would kind of chat together, and be like, okay, what are we going to do here? Like look at references and kind of build up this character together. Sagan, Malphas, Belial, all these characters are in this book. So I think we might be able to use that for a while. There's 72 of them, so that could be like 10 years of demons. But we're also tying in Lovecraft and the Bible and kind of whatever we can get our hands on to kind of come up with this twisted stuff, or this like rich lore. Like the Lesser Key of Solomon and demonology in general is quite tied to the Bible and quite tied to the opposite of itself. So we kind of want to make sure that we look at all the subject matter we can. We now have with us a guy called Mike who's working with narrative exclusively, and also like he's like managing scripts and voiceovers and stuff. But like in general, his main role is narrative. So he's like delving really, really deep into that stuff. But I think he's only been here for under a year now. So for the first year and a half of me being there, it was kind of down to us as individuals to kind of weave story in. But it's always been Toby's vision, really. Like as the CEO, like it's his. I think he kind of started the story. Him and another guy called Jackson and his brother Bobby, they made the game together as a games jam, and then it kind of went from there. So it's always been like their vision.
I see. Was it, by the way, always a multiplayer-oriented game, or was it sometimes?
It was always multiplayer.
Okay.
The first one was very, very small in scope. It was in this like big dark, I think it was a forest at the time, like pitch black. You had a knife and you had a lantern, and you'd walk around and stab people. Basically, that was like a game jam they just made really quick. And then they kept working on it, and it's grown into what it is today. So yeah, it was always aimed at multiplayer.
I see. So for a lot of players, seasonal content is very important in multiplayer games like the Bornus. How your team would like to deliver these seasonal contents? Like, do you have any plans for the future when after releasing the full?
We do have plans. We're not exactly sure how we're going to implement it yet.
I see.
But I think on release we're going to have like an early supporter bundle.
I see.
So it'll be more like you pay a little bit to get a bunch of stuff which we've worked on.
I see.
Rather than like locking people into a battle pass straight away. Because I know sometimes if a new game releases, it's a bit of a risk maybe to buy the battle pass and then be like,
true.
So I think we're going to approach it slightly differently. Also takes the pressure off us having to create the amount of content that's needed for a battle pass straight away.
True.
And we can make like a couple of skins, a couple of weapon skins, some player icons and stuff, and that will, that could fill a player bundle, an early supporter bundle, but could not fill a battle pass. Currently, I'm our only character artist, so all the skins and demons, everything's made by me. So I think, we will definitely like approach that when we get there. But for now, I think creating
more work for you, right? And hopefully more payment as well. Yeah. Okay, going back to a more personal question again, how do you balance your everyday life between your work life?
I think working for a small studio and one you've been at since like not the inception, but you've been there since quite early on. I think it's like it's definitely harder than it would be if you're at like a big corporate job where once you've clocked out, you're like, I'm done, because I care about the project. So if someone messages me and they're like, we really need your help right now, like how would you approach this, whatever, like I care about the project that I'm gonna answer just because I want us to succeed so much. Which definitely makes it harder to separate my personal life Luckily, I love what I'm working on and stuff, so it's like not like it's that big of an issue. But I think trying to like go to the gym and stay active, go for walks. It's harder now. It's getting towards winter. Like it's dark so early, so it's definitely harder. Um, yeah, I think that going to the gym and being active is really helpful, and just like spending time with people in real life, especially because we're a remote studio. Like having contact with people in real life is is very helpful. Like I think it's very nice. So yeah, it's definitely tough because I'm so passionate about the project to like actually distance myself from it. Um, but I think it's something that as time goes on and we get more confident in it, and if I don't get back to someone that evening, we can work on it the next day. It's okay. It's not like we're trying to meet get a deadline like Gamescom. I think it will get easier to have like a more of a separation.
I see. I see. Have you ever had that moment in your life when you like had a crazy idea for a monster that you would like to deliver to the team, but you didn't have any, technology to make a scratch about it, and you totally
Um,
forgot your idea, or you had to go back to that idea again and make a scratch about it, or make the full character?
Not really, actually.
Okay, okay.
Not really.
You are always prepared, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay. So going back again to the game, as far as I know, it's only will be available for PC players, right?
On release,
Okay,
but we are definitely planning on releasing on console.
I see,
It's just quite an expensive and like time costly
I
endeavor
see,
to release
I
to
see, I see, I
console
see,
as well. So not something that we're going to do on release, but something we'll aim to do. I think we're definitely aiming to do it.
I see. And are you guys also planning to have crossplay? Since it's a multiplayer game, it would make sense, right?
I think so. I
Okay,
think nowadays that seems to be the standard. Like
true, true,
people
true,
expect crossplay now,
true.
from a lot of big studios. So I mean, we're not a big studio, but if that's the standard and people expect that, we're gonna get, um, we might get pushback if we don't. So I'm not actually sure. Um, that I think other people might have a better answer than me on the team, but from what I know, we are definitely aiming to release on console crossplay. I mean, that probably would be the goal. Whether or not we could achieve it or not would be a different story, but that would be the aim probably.
I see, I see. So you mentioned that all of us in the team are very passionate about this project. I was wondering
Yeah.
about, are you aiming for a more casual audience or a more hardcore audience, or something in the middle between those two audiences?
I feel like for a game to actually properly thrive, I feel like you need both.
Okay,
The hardcore audience, there's not enough of them to keep a game afloat, in my
okay,
opinion.
okay.
But if there's only a casual audience, I think you might not have big streamers playing it. There's no competitive scene,
True,
and then it kind of loses its relevance. So I feel like having both is so important. I think they're quite symbiotic to each other. Like the casual players will watch the streamers play, and be like, "Oh my god, they're so good at the game," and the pro streamers and the pro players need the casual audience for there to be a game, right?
true, true,
If it's
true,
only if there's only one esports team playing the game and no one else in the whole world
true,
playing it,
true, true,
the
true,
game
true,
dies,
true,
and
true,
vice versa, kind of. So
true.
yeah.
Speaking of this topic, how guys are you planning to like support the competitive scene of the game? Or do you
We're not
have any
sure yet.
plans? Okay, okay,
Honestly, I think I'm not sure on our plans at the moment.
okay,
Um, it's quite hard to say until the game's released. I feel like I think the competitive scene often creates itself.
okay.
Like if you look at Fortnite, I think when they released Fortnite, I don't think they were planning on how are we going to make
True,
this
true,
the
true, true.
biggest esports event
True,
of all
true, true,
time.
very
Where
true. Yeah, yeah, very
but
true.
it builds itself and
The
people
aim
change the
was to
meta.
have fun, right? And it
Exactly.
delivers later, yeah.
And then suddenly you have like Tfue and Ninja and all these
True,
people
true,
like
true, 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 true,
they've
true.
like mastered the mechanics
True,
more than the developers could ever have probably
true,
imagined.
true,
Like
true.
I mean, we when we played on this Halloween playtest, there were people playing the game that were like way better than anyone on the team at the game.
Was it a
We're
bad
seeing them do
feeling, by
stuff.
the way? Was it a bad feeling?
No, it was a good feeling. It was a really good feeling
Okay.
to like see people be passionate about it and wanna win. It was a good feeling, but we saw them do stuff that like we've never even done before, like like using mechanics that we've built in ways that we didn't know they could even be used because they're just like very skillful players. So I think that's probably how it felt to see people using the mechanics that were intended in Fortnite to like build a small shelter. They're using it to build like to basically almost to fly. Like they can like go up in the air and move along. Like it's just ridiculous. Like using the mechanics in ridiculously different ways to intended. And I think through that is how a competitive scene gets built by people mastering games mechanics.
True, true, true. You mentioned before that as a smaller team, you had to realize your own limitations throughout the
Definitely.
development process. What were those limitations at the beginning and now, if you can
I
think of
think
those?
I think it's always tough because people who are playing games, they might not be aware of what it means to develop games. So
True,
they
very
might not be
true,
aware
very
that
true. Yeah,
the big AAA games will have hundreds of people working on them for like
true,
7 years,
true.
and they release a masterpiece, and we have like 25 people who are less experienced than AAA devs, working on something for a much shorter amount of time, and so we have to kind of prepare ourselves that people aren't going to know that, and they're going to see the flaws before they realize, wow, they actually did something really impressive for
True,
the size and the experience of their team.
true.
I think that's one of the biggest. I think that's one of the hardest things. Kind of people dismissing it or not understanding, like, damn, this was made by like a bunch of really young developers who are quite early into their careers on a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time that a big game that kind of would be seen to rival ours was made
True,
in.
true, 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 true.
People compare us to Hunt Showdown a lot, but they're like 7 years into their game's life now, or something like that. Like, it's been out for a very long time.
And
Crytek,
it started a
massive.
different game, right? So it was intended to be a story game at first, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
was a
exactly.
TPS game, a story-oriented TPS. If I'm correct, 2 or 4 player co-op game. Yeah,
Um, so yeah, they've basically like they've
they
been through
revamped
different
the whole
iterations and everything.
creation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, so, but because of the sort of game we're releasing, it's a multiplayer horror game. Like, we're seen to be trying to rival Hunt Showdown, and obviously, I mean, the goal is to kind of put yourselves up there with the greats, but it's
True, true,
definitely a
true.
very hard goal to achieve that as like being a massive underdog. I think also other limitations, we have to understand that like we might not be able to create like next gen groundbreaking things in areas that big AAA companies can't do yet. But being ambitious and wanting to, I think it's hard sometimes to like reduce our scope and be like, we actually just cannot achieve this
True,
because
true, true.
we would need like 20 devs who are obscenely experienced to create this feature. We're not going to do it and have to like find a workaround that maybe provides a similar function but can be done within our scope.
True, very
I
true.
think it's hard to kind of reduce your scope when you're ambitious.
Very true, very true. You mentioned that you have to like also compete for people's attention, and with games like Hunt Showdown, if you would happen to say like a core aspect that stands out from all other FPS games with the Bornless, what would that be, or what would those core aspects be?
So some of the feedback we got while people played was that it felt different. I think that's
Okay,
like
okay,
fantastic to see. A lot of people said this feels like a different experience. I think we've combined a lot of aspects of different gaming tropes that we really like, and we've kind of spun it in our own way. So I think we've made something that's quite different. Playing as the demon, like becoming the demon through gameplay, is something that feels quite different. Like suddenly you're fighting a human that's become a demon,
true.
um,
It
and
reminded
you're
me.
also
It
fighting.
reminded
Sorry,
me a bit of Evolve, if you remember that game. Sorry for
yeah,
interrupting you. Yeah,
yeah. Evolve's a super cool game.
yeah,
I like that asymmetrical
yeah, yeah, yeah.
gameplay is super
Like
fun.
really changes the twist of the gameplay.
But like weaving that into a symmetrical
Yeah,
or like into a PvP, and
yeah,
there's also E as well, enemy, so PvP VE,
yeah.
and you can become these powerful demons
True,
and
true,
fight each other. So like Evolve was just one demon
true, true.
fighting humans, but suddenly the humans can spawn a
It's a
demon in and
mix.
they
Yeah,
fight each other, which creates some really cool battles. And like once those features are really polished, we intend for these battles to feel like crazy cool. And like I think there's definitely a lot of tension. There's almost a battle royale element to it in the fact
okay.
that like it's an extraction shooter, but it feels quite quick. It feels potentially more um, like adrenaline rushing in the way like you have jump in your truck, you drive out. There's a team there. You like drop handbrake, turn around the corner, jump out, mow them down. Suddenly they transform into a demon. They kill you. Like it's quite high pace and quite high stakes.
True.
So I feel like we've combined a lot of different elements from games that we really enjoy, and create something quite unique.
I see.
But I think the goal is also always to not like just grab stuff from games that you
I see.
like and put it together. It's
Not to
like
have too much influence, right?
exactly, it's more
Yeah.
like how can we create something unique, but
True, true,
using
true.
them as almost like case studies of what players enjoy rather than how can we steal this
True,
idea, right? So
true,
like
true.
if players really enjoy the asymmetrical nature, of Evolve, and they really enjoy the high stakes of Battle Royale. How can we combine that rather than how can we take Evolve's stuff and combine it with Fortnite? It's more like using them as case studies of what gamers enjoy.
That's the risk, right? In this
Yeah.
development process. Yeah. So for players who play multiplayer games, the balance is a key thing to have, right? And also for the developers of these games as well.
Definitely.
How did you guys manage so far to deal with the balance thing in the gameplay?
So balance between like
system?
making the demons not too powerful and stuff
and
like
also the guns to feel like.
So we're always running like internal tests,
Okay.
like especially when we're on the run up to Gamescom and a Halloween playtest we just did. Like we're playing every single day, but it's a sort of thing that we need like thousands of players or like a lot of matches in order to really assess that stuff. So I think that will happen naturally as after release. Like we're obviously going to intend to balance stuff as much as possible. Like we'll test a bunch of situations. Like okay, I'm the demon. I'm going to attack you guys now. Like is this balanced? Okay, no. You killed us all with one hit. It's not balanced. Let's address it. But I think that like we might release and realize that one mechanic is exploitable and some pro player can use it to just kill everyone. Let's balance it. I think it's like balancing is something that evolves as the game is released. Like often Overwatch and most big games will release a new character or a new feature. And when it comes out, it's like everyone's like, oh, it's broken, it's busted. This is like such an OP mechanic or an OP character, and they have to balance it because they've tested it themselves. But when they release a new character into Overwatch to thousands and thousands of players, suddenly it's going to get a lot more playtime than it's ever had internally, and then they can see the flaws and fix them up. So we're always working on balance, but I think it's something that like we have at the forefront of our mind when we release.
I see. And how do you guys find the balance between like being influenced by the players' feedback, but also stick to your own vision? Because I feel that it's very important, right, to really stick to your vision, even if you want to have the right balance in the gameplay system.
Yeah,
even if it's about guns or the characters themselves.
So I think in general, like people want games to feel familiar, so they can just pick them up and play them. And I think that that's something that sometimes you need to push back against because it's like, when I don't know, let's say TF2, when TF2 was released, maybe the hero shooter wasn't a familiar concept at the time.
True.
And had they gone, okay, we'll just scrap that, we'll just make it another shooting game, maybe it might have been like, oh yeah, this is easy now, we can play this easily, we don't need to learn new characters.
They took the risk, right? And it became very popular, people still play it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's still rammed, all the servers are still active. So I think you can listen to players' feedback, but also you have to understand that they might be wanting your game to become a game which they're used to. And I think sometimes you have to push back against that and go, yeah, well, okay, like that's really valuable feedback, and some of that, especially, the handling of the truck felt off, or the scoping down this specific gun didn't feel quick enough, whatever. Like all of that is user experience, and like definitely that stuff is stuff we take on board. But like the overall vision, I think you've got to kind of combine feedback and your own vision in order to create something like truly good, and kind of like take that risk and then give people something that they maybe didn't want, but they play and they love it, and they actually realize they wanted it all along.
True. Before you mentioned that some players compare your game to Hunt Showdown, I believe when I started my dev life show, my goal was to like show the people, to see behind the curtain that it's real human beings who are making these games, and to put an end to this cancel culture that we live in right now, not just in the video game industry, from the player perspective, but also like in general in every territory of our own life. Did you guys ever like had some very like harsh comments on the internet about your game, and how it felt for you guys to read those?
We've had it, definitely. I think so like when we will release like a trailer or something like that, I mean if you look at any game that releases, even games that everyone loves, I mean if you look at like GTA 6, everyone's excited for that game. I guarantee you there will be a load of comments in there that go, boring, this looks like the most boring game ever made. GTA 5 was better, GTA 1 was better, whatever, right? There's always hate. I don't think you notice that until you're on the receiving end of it. Like you don't realize how common it is. I think there's definitely a toxic culture in the games industry, or in gaming culture, unfortunately. Like there shouldn't be, but I think there definitely is in some areas. But I think there probably is in every single industry. Like, I don't know, in food service, people go to get a burger and leave a review like, this is the most disgusting burger in the world. And everyone else quite liked it. And it's like, well, we like the burger. you're just, you hated
Yeah,
it for
but
some
in my
reason.
opinion, like as we started to consider games in general as a form of art, I always joke
Yeah,
with this, but we never said that Mona Lisa sucks, right? So if you
true,
would go to a museum and say that Mona Lisa sucks, you would probably be kicked out from the museum, right? But if we consider
true.
nowadays games as also forms of art, it's so
Yeah,
stupid from people to say that this game sucks, right? Because
yeah,
it's
it's
made by
sad.
humans and it's a form of art, right? So
I think also when people like haven't played it, like they'll see a trailer.
exactly.
We'll release a cinematic trailer that isn't a gameplay trailer. People want gameplay. We release a gameplay trailer. They say there's no story. They want a cinematic trailer. Some people don't quite know what they want.
Yeah.
But I think once people play it, often they can see past that and they go, "Oh, it actually is really fun." Like we've had people that have been skeptical. They play it and they go, "It's actually really good.
I
Like
see.
we really enjoyed it." It's some people play it. They go, "It's actually nothing like Hunt Showdown." They just saw guns and saw demons and thought, "This is just Hunt Showdown." And they play it and go, "It's actually nothing like it. Like it's a completely different game." So I think people, I wish people would give studios the benefit of the doubt more.
True.
But yeah, I also think people really want indie games. People love indie games at the moment. I think they're quite down on AAA, but they expect those indie games to be at the quality of AAA, because they want them to be really flashy and next gen graphics. So it's quite a tough balance to kind of
True.
prove that we're indie, but also look as good as possible and kind of hide the fact we're indie. It's kind of a weird double edged sword being an
True.
indie studio.
True.
Yeah, but on the flip side, we've also had amazing feedback. We've had people play it and love it. At Gamescom, like some people queued up every single day to play. We had one guy
Lovely,
who
lovely.
queued like every day he would come and just queue, and then he would go through the queue, play it, get to the back of the queue, play again, queue, and like seeing that sort of thing is like it's so lovely and so refreshing. And it kind of makes me realize that any hate we get is just like people who aren't informed about the game and haven't played it and don't really know, and they just want to complain.
Or who do not
And there's
understand
so
your
much
game, right?
yeah, and for every negative comment, there's multiple lovely comments or likes or people sharing it or people playing it and loving it. So I think it's really just like,
True.
as humans, we always want to focus and worry about the bad stuff. I think that's probably kept us alive up till now. There's all these flowers and there's all this food, but there's also a bear. Let's worry about the bear rather than looking at all the nice
True,
stuff.
true, true,
And I think
true.
that's like maybe we haven't quite evolved as enough as a species yet to not be like that.
Sadly.
But those survival mechanics are still lingering up with us today as we sit here in front of our computers developing games. We're
True,
still
true.
worried about
But it's
the
not the
bear and the
bear,
pack
it's
of
the other
wolves.
people on the other side of the
Yeah,
computer, right?
exactly. Yeah,
It's
but
so
we need to just
stupid.
realize, hey, it's not real anymore. Like they can't hurt us. Let's look at all the nice stuff we have waiting for us, all the
True, true,
the
true.
berries and the treats.
True, very
Because the
true.
bear is now behind the screen and it's 1,000 miles away or
True.
whatever. Don't worry about that one bear. Let's get all the nice stuff we got in
True,
front of
true,
us.
true, true, true. It's interesting that you mentioned that people are like more open-minded nowadays for indie games because I believe that it really ties up to the topic that we have been discussing, and you said that it's really about the risk, and if you are willing to take the risk as a developer, you might have a way more successful game, and
Hmm.
people might like it even more. But I feel like the AAA companies now like started making these safe play
Hmm.
development process and games, since like whenever you had like a lot of like risk play games that were very unique, they got cancelled. If you see like Last of Us 2
Yep.
also got cancelled for its ending and for its beginning, right? And a lot of people hated for its story. And I believe that a lot of companies nowadays really started to back out, from this very risky play of having, very unique stories and gameplay segments that can change the industry for the better. And I think that's why like people ended up, hating on risk plays and also hating on like AAA safe plays. And it's stupid in my opinion, because I view it from a totally different perspective. I feel like players who made it the very, very different or different path for these big companies who made these big games, because I feel like this cancel culture really can change the industry for the worse in my opinion. And it's very bad to see because now it's happening in the games as well in my opinion, and people like starting to hate on indie games as well if they are not overwhelmed with the outcome of the games. Like you said, they want indie games to be shiny but still be indie games, and it's so weird, right? So I always say this, that a lot of people do not understand their own vision, what they would like to have in games. They are just saying, I want a good game, but what's a good game for you, right? So
Yep. Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, I can just see why big studios want to stop taking those risks when a game costs like $200 million to make or $100 million to make. Like making that a very risky game, like maybe it's a gamble that they don't want to take with that much money. But a
Exactly.
smaller studio maybe can make that gamble because, like, if
Yeah,
we
because
make a game,
that's their standout point, right? So for
yeah,
indies, it's their standout point.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if we try and make a game that just feels like another like game that's
You
low
will be
risk and
cancelled
blends
for
in,
that.
we can't do that,
Yeah.
and we won't be able to make a game that's good enough
Yeah.
and
To stand
normal
out.
enough to become, the biggest game in the world. Because making a game that's safe but really really good is also a skill. Like, it's really hard.
True.
Like,
True.
making a new Black Ops game, a Black Ops 6, like, they're probably not adding some ridiculous weird mechanics that would make a game like, oh my god, this is the weirdest game in the world. I love it. But it's still, people are going to play it, and it's going to make loads of money because it's going to be a really good, polished experience.
And the
I
gameplay
think
itself is very like immersive, in my opinion. Like,
definitely, and I think like an indie studio probably can't, definitely cannot beat Black Ops at its own game ever. Like,
true, true.
unless, I mean, I don't think they ever could, because they've just they've perfected it. These big studios have perfected their games. So I think as an indie studio, you have to kind of make something weird or something different to stand out. But you can afford to take that risk that people might not like it because you haven't invested $200 million and like 10 years of your life into it.
True. You're speaking about the gameplay also. How do you feel the gameplay feels in the game? Like, what could you say about the
So
gameplay
we're currently
itself?
working on a big rework of it. So I
Okay,
think anything that people have played is about to change
I see.
for the better, in my opinion. We're reworking our animation system and a lot of stuff. So it was always quite prototype in a
I
way.
see. I see. I see. I see.
So we're working on it basically. I think there's a lot of features in our game that we are aware that like they're the base level we need to get the game playable, and then we can go in and polish these and make them feel as cool as we possibly can.
I see.
So yeah, we're working on it.
As a team, have you aimed for like a more fast-paced game or like a more tactical game with the Bornless?
I would say there's definitely elements of both.
Okay.
I think like a game that's tactical but has very fast paced encounters is quite fun.
Okay.
Like, there might be a slow build up where you like loop around someone and you like, oh, you've loot a chest, you find a new gun, and then you take them out and it's like really high action. I think that's quite a fun balance. So yeah, I think we're kind of aiming for a combination of both, where like you can play really tactically, but also if you're a very high skilled player in the moment, like, you're gonna win.
I see. I see. Okay. And what about the future? You mentioned like your team would like to support the Bornless for a lot of years, since there are a lot of monsters from that book that you mentioned that influenced the game so far. Are you planning to just support this game, or did you ever guys had like another game idea?
We have some other game ideas. I know
I see.
Toby's definitely always like thinking of other
I
ideas.
see. I see. I see.
Um, but I think that's going to maybe depend on the success of the bonus.
I see.
When we release, like, is it going to be received well enough for us to divert some of the revenue to making a new game, or is
I
it going to
see.
be like, for the first 2 years, we just get enough money to keep working on the bonus, and then it slowly builds up enough. So I think it's really going to depend on the outcome of when we release.
I see. I see.
But we do have other stuff we're working on for sure.
Nice. 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 I would like to also talking about like the merchandise and the collector's edition or the physical edition of the game. Are you guys planning to make any like merchandise or like physical edition for
We
your
definitely are
game on
planning
launch?
merch.
Okay.
I know that we have a store with some stuff on already, but we're currently working on some more stuff like
Okay.
t-shirts and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not sure about physical release. That's a good question. I mean, like, obviously back in the day we'd have had to have a physical release, but it's something that feels like it isn't like required anymore for a game to be successful. I mean,
It
I don't
is.
think there's a physical release of a
It
lot of games
it
nowadays that exist
doesn't,
have a
but
physical
like it's
version.
still going back to its golden era, in my
Definitely,
opinion. Like if
definitely.
you
So yeah, I
see
think
all these
basically,
companies making physical editions for studios,
I
like
think it's quite a
limited
special
run.
thing, like having the box with the
True.
art on the
True.
front. So I think like it's something that we'd love to do, really, but something that we might not. I don't know.
I see.
I
I
think
see.
that depends on like the marketing team. They might want to push it, or it might be an expense that we'd rather divert this into another area. But yeah, I don't know. We're a big enough team now that I like might not know the answer to like their questions for them. So yeah, I don't know, but maybe.
I see. I see. You mentioned at the beginning of our interview that it's very important as a small team to always build a self-confidence and always have
Yep.
this self-confidence around your passion and vision. Uh, Also, have you ever had, as a person who are involved with the process of making this game, that you had to question yourself, or you were instantly questioning yourself about the process that you are making towards the game?
Definitely.
Okay.
I think imposter syndrome is something that everyone goes through. Kind of
Okay.
like you get this, people put trust in you to work on this stuff for them, and you might be like looking online and be like, oh my god, like this, this is better, or this game is just released and this character looks better than what I've made. Um, and you always doubt yourself, and you're always kind of comparing yourself to, or more to people, maybe comparing yourself to how you think people expect you to be.
I see.
Um, so I don't think that ever goes away. Probably, I think imposter syndrome probably always exists. You probably always think that you're not good enough, and it's just something that you have to like maybe realize that after 2 years of doing it, and we're having some good success. Like I I'm proving that to myself that I can be good enough at it. Um, so I think even though the doubts still linger, like every single day and every single success you make kind of strengthens your argument against yourself that I am good enough. Like, I might not be rivaling like God of War with my stuff, but I'm like one guy working for a small company, making loads and loads of work, like having a very high volume of work. Um, so I'm doing my best basically, and I think I need to like remind myself that. I think everyone does. I think everyone who's trying hard, like they're gonna have imposter syndrome, but they don't need to because if you're trying hard, like that's enough.
I see. I see. Throughout the development process, have you ever had those moments in your life when you had to like work on multiple characters at the same time? And if yes, how did you balance not to be influenced from one to another character?
That's a good question. Often I won't. Often I'll just like do one to completion and then start on the next.
Okay.
I feel like I just kind of get in the flow with one character, finish it. Sometimes I'll have characters that are like ongoing, like I'm still not quite sure on them, or like they're not quite needed yet. So when I have like downtime, I'll jump back and work on them. We have one guy called Phoenix, um, and for like the last 6 months, probably like I've occasionally worked on him for like, oh, I'll do a day here or like half an hour here. So he's like slowly getting there, but because he's not needed right now, the pressure is like not there immediately to have him done. So like there are definitely characters that I'm working on, and I think like they probably end up being the best characters because I have the longest to work on them. Even if it's not like all in one go, like the amount of hours I actually spend on him won't be any different to any of the other
I see. I
characters.
see.
But because I'm like able to kind of learn so much as I'm working on it and have so much time to think about like ideas for this character, they like it will turn out better. So yeah, definitely like I will have like characters that are maybe in the background, but like I won't be like actively working on two at the same time. I think it's often just like one, with one like maybe or two characters like in the background.
I see. I see. For your future, what additional skills would you like to pick up, even if it's about the bornless or even if it's about your art, making art?
So at the moment and for the last couple of weeks, I've not been doing character stuff. I've
Okay.
jumped in with the environment team.
Okay.
So I'm working with them on environment art, and I'm learning a lot there, and I'm really enjoying it. Like
Let's
a
see.
lot about like piling materials and like vertex painting and all these like things that character artists don't really do as much anyway, because we're like each character is quite bespoke, right? Like if I have a character, it's unlikely that I'm going to need to tile stuff up from another character because they're always quite unique. Whereas if we're doing a map, like if we have wooden beams, wooden wall, fences, like we can tile that stuff and we can share those materials. So it's like kind of a bit of a different mindset and a different approach, which I'm actually really enjoying. So I want to up my skills in that area, and I think I'll be able to take skills from that back to characters and be like, actually, this character can share the same stuff as the same textures as this character as this element. So let me work on those sort of things. So I'm really enjoying that working on environment at the moment. I think I want to keep up my skills there and kind of keep leaning more into like not more, but like learning more tech art stuff. Like technical art is such a interesting skill. Like being able to set up really cool shaders and like weird stuff that I wouldn't normally do. But being a small team, like I think learning those extra things is just going to help our studio even more because we don't have a dedicated tech artist at the moment. So if me and a programmer and another artist like all learn a bit of tech art, we can kind of combine together to become a tech artist.
I see. I see. Do you believe, by the way, in perfect synergy between team members, even if it's a small team or a bigger team?
I think so. I
Okay.
think when there is the synergy stuff, slips and stuff like breaks down. So I think it's important to have like really good communication
I see.
when you're like racing towards a deadline, like when you're racing towards Gamescom. That communication definitely can slip just because you're all so busy and you're all so tunnel visioned on your goals. So I think it's important, like we're doing now, we're kind of regrouping. Like we've done these big pushes. If stuff has slipped, we're regrouping, we're recommunicating, we're rebuilding stuff that might have been made in the non-ideal way just because of the time limitations.
I see.
But I think in an ideal world, like, and I think this is what AAA studios are able to do because they move at a slower rate. They're able to have like really tight communication and everything's perfect and you never need to do anything twice. Like it's done perfectly. Whereas as a studio of our size, we might do something we need to do again in 6 months' time, but it got us there at the time. Like for Gamescom, we have a feature that we rushed. A small feature that maybe, I mean, this is like not necessarily a real example, but there might be a small feature that was rushed that got us there, but we need to rework this feature afterwards to make it perfect.
I see.
But without the feature, the game would have felt lacking. So like the demons aren't polished to how we want them to be, and we're gonna have to rework. We have to work on those after. Whereas maybe in AAA, they would just keep working on them until they're perfect, and then the game would release. So yeah,
I see.
I think yeah.
I see. Are you also like planning in the future to like make your own game, even if that could happen in any years from now on after the release of Bornless and after the support of Bornless for years? Like, do you have any plans or ideas for your own game? Because I believe that all creators who work for companies, they have this click in their mind, right? For their
Yep.
like own games or ideas for games. Do you also have this or these ideas?
I mean, I really enjoy working with a team. I think
Okay.
even if I was going to make my own game, it would always be with a team.
With the team, I
Just
see, I see.
because I feel like I think working with other humans is so important to, like you said earlier, you put your experiences into your art.
True, true,
And if I
true,
made a
true.
game exclusively by myself, I don't think it'd be the best game in the world because I
See.
think it would be very like one-sided and biased. It would just be my experience of life. And I think having, we have 25 people in the team now, or whatever the exact number is, and that's 25 people's worth of experiences to reach into. Um, and so I think, yeah, like maybe at the moment I'm kind of I'm really enjoying working with Cathedral, and I think like that'll be my goal is to stay there and keep working with them because I think the team is awesome. Um, I've worked on a bunch of games in the past, like games jams and stuff like that, like small games with small teams. So there's games that I have that like I've really enjoyed working on that I would want to bring
I see.
back. Like we have, yeah, I've got quite a few games that kind of sitting there that I've worked on that are kind of waiting to be polished, but they don't need to be made like right now or ever. Like if I love working with Cathedral. So at the moment, I'm happy working on Bornless. I think because we're such a small team, though, like we are able to make it our own. I think more than we would do if we were like a 200-person team. Like is like 4 people. We're able to make it our own a lot more. 50 of us in the art department. So it's not my own game, my own spirit, my own would be able to otherwise. So combo, I think. I get to work with people and I get to.
Do you think by you really found yourself in life?
So,
Games, okay.
I mean, I haven't. I've been doing it for so long now that, like, maybe if I was a blacksmith, like being a gardener or something like. I don't know because I haven't done that. Comparing to my whole education, like doing English, history and all those things, like this is so my, which is why I think I gravitated to it so. Oh my god, this is crazy! Like this is what I want to do. I mean, I don't think I would be able to push myself as hard as I do. I do if I didn't love it. So I think it definitely is my calling. I mean, I'm not. I probably could go gardening right now, but I'm not because I prefer this. So well, we'll see.
I see. Topic that you mentioned at the beginning of our interview, you mentioned 6 months of wait for the company's answer again, being able to work for them or not. Feelings did you had around those months? wait to
I
reach
mean,
back
it
to
wasn't so
them?
much of a wait. They like, oh, it was more just like, all right, I'll go. And I was at uni at the time, so and then reached out to them. So I was busy.
Did you
So
have a
I think
feeling
like
that you will fit have this work or job for
I
yourself?
think so.
Okay.
I think very honest with me. He was like, look, we can't work with you yet. The money, then we'll work with you. So I kind of just felt like, I'm not going to count on it just because it might might not happen. It's very exciting. And then I reached out to him, and he was like, "Come up for us." But I remember email. I almost felt like it was a scam. Like I got an email. It was from the one. It was from one emails, but it was signed from a different person because it was someone messaging me going, "Oh, we found your work online. Do you want to chat to?" And I was like, "This feels fishy as hell." Yeah, okay, sure. I remember I was in the shop with my dad, a big shop we have here, and I was like, "Oh, I just got this message back." Yeah, go on then. Responded back, and then I chatted with them. The bonus website. I was like, okay, it actually is real. Doubting if it was even real because it just felt so like. And then I called Toby, and I remember he like unformal. It was just like it was almost like this. Like we just basically. And he just like asked about me and kind of like, what do you enjoy? And I think Toby's really good about like he hires people kind of person, and the passion, not just like when I got hired for this job, like I had done a lot of like work, like made statues for like some done other stuff for people, but my track record of was nothing. Like I'd never worked for a video games company, but he still took that risk on me because he never worked for a video. Understands like you don't need to have this like an amazing person for this later. Like I have a lot of responsibility. Like I'm leading loads of and like doing documentation and planning loads of stuff. Myself into the person that like I want to be for the studio. I want to be for my like. I'm happy that he took that gamble on me. I wasn't a AAA dev, right? Portfolio that looked really good at the time.
How your perspective is by being a game developer now?
I definitely play a lot less games than I used to.
Okay.
Um,
But
I
it's
think so.
understandable, right? You have less time.
Like I know that a lot of chefs like they get home and they just like they just eat like a bit
Very
of
true,
toast.
very
Like
true. Yeah.
I think my capacity for video is definitely less than it used to be when I wasn't working with them all the time. I think now like because if I'm playing games, I'm working kind of. Oh, I can see that this is tiling, or I can see. So even if I can't play them and I can play games that I enjoy working, because I'm still like looking out for stuff. So I have to like go out of the house, go to the gym, go for a run. Games for me to actually like stop working. But I still will play games. Like I've got back into which I hadn't played for ages. I'm actually really enjoying that again, which is nice to play with. So I think like yeah, I definitely don't play games as much as I used to.
Okay, we touched a lot of topics here. Are you down to answer some questions from the chat before I will go into some questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if there is any question. Let us know. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, nyugodtan kérdezzetek. Let us know. 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 Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen kérdés? I know it's work time, but let us know. Drop your work for a minute and let us know if you have any questions. Let us know. Until we wait for more questions, what would be your advice for those people who want to work in the video game industry, even if it's for working for a team, or even if they are starting their own company and would like to make games by their
So I
own.
think, like, I know that a saying in life is like, do something like it's your job and it will become your job.
Okay.
So I've always treated it like that. Like when COVID lockdown happened and all that sort of thing, like I was, and you know, whenever I had spare time, like I was always working on it, and I would treat it like a full-time job or more. Like I would work at like 10 hours a day every single day, doing character art, trying to get better. Um, and I think having that drive is what enables it to become a job. And if you aren't, I mean, if you have the time to, of course, but you aren't able to do it non-stop, you or do it for 8 hours a day, when the time comes that you have it as a job, you won't be able to do it because you 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 might not have developed that like level of dedication yet. So I think prove to yourself that you can do it like it's a job, and you'll be ready for it by the time it becomes a job. And the amount of progress you'll make if you do it 8 hours a day, you know, if you do it 9 to 5, 5 days a week, you will make so much progress that you'll be ready. Like your portfolio will be ready. But if you do it once 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, like your portfolio is gonna not be ready because it's gonna be created so slowly. And the progress you'll make will be so slow. And also, if you do land it as a job, suddenly they're going to be expecting like 20 times the amount of the output that you're used to, and you're not going to have to handle it because you've never done that before. So treat it like it's a job, and it'll become one basically.
True, true, true. You mentioned before that you're always trying to like a bit fade away from your work when you're trying to have a bit of a chill time. But are you always like influenced from everything that you do in your life into
I think
your
so.
game and into what you make?
I went to so our game is set in New England.
Okay.
It's set on an island, a fictional island off the coast of like Salem, Massachusetts area. And I went there to visit some family for in the summer, and I couldn't stop working. Like everywhere I went, I was taking photos. I was like, oh my god, look at this! Like look at this forest, look at this tree, look at this like water. Like this is perfect. Um, and I literally like found it very hard to stop.
I see.
Because I was just seeing like inspiration everywhere I go. And like